Well, welcome to Sports Check once again. Daniel Wahome is my name, and we've got our sign language interpreter at the bottom right of your screen is Lensa Odingo. And we shall be having 3 conversations today. Table tennis Kenya, they are selecting a team for the Commonwealth Games, but the process is not the usual one. They have changed how they do it. They pick a pool of 10 men and 10 women, and every month you've got to play, and there is promotion and relegation from that pool. That's a tough one for most of the players. No one is assured of a slot. The competition will grow, so we shall be hearing about two of Kenya's top players, Sejal Takar and Brian Mutua, plus the coach of the national team, Kennedy Otieno. And then we've got the World Indoor Championships this weekend in Belgrade, Serbia. Remember, KBC Channel 1 will be broadcasting that event from Friday through Sunday. And due to restrictions about travel and how much contact they can make, we shall be joining Team Kenya via Zoom from their base, and we shall be hearing from Janet Jekosgei, the Eldoret Express. She's the coach of the national team, young Naomi Korir, Ferdinando Manyala, and the leader of the delegation, Barnaba Kitilit, who will tell us about the playbook for Belgrade, Serbia, and he will actually explain why we opted to do it via Zoom. But today is the 14th of March, and it is Commonwealth Day, and the Commonwealth Games in Kenya, they are seen by the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, which incorporates the Commonwealth Games Federation of Kenya. And to talk about, their activities for this year, the commissions that have been set up, and also some regulations about how Team Kenya is going to be picked for the Commonwealth Games that run from the 25th of July to the 8th of August, also to be broadcast on KBC Channel 1. We've got the Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, Francis Mutuku. Francis, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you, and happy Commonwealth Day.
Thank you, and happy Commonwealth Day to you too.
Thank you very much. And just an outlook at the general celebrations for the Commonwealth Games. I know we are about 132 days out to the Games. What's the celebration plan and the activities for Nock for today?
Thank you, and thank you for again inviting me to share with all Kenyans what we are doing. Before I go to what we'll be discussing, I want to congratulate KBC Channel 1 for acquiring the rights to free-to-air for the Commonwealth. That way, at least we know Kenyans will be watching our team from Birmingham, and we look forward to working very closely with KBC to ensure that people know about the team. Commonwealth Day, yes, is today. For us, we are different milestones in terms of celebrating. So in terms of any expectations on celebrating today, none at all. We are looking at different milestones like we did for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Our first celebration in terms of letting the country know will be on 100 days. Right now, we are about 132 days to the Commonwealth. We have about 30 to 32 days to get ourselves completely ready, so that when we start celebrating, everyone is on the start line. However, in terms of the ongoing activities, a lot of the work right now, just like you just mentioned around table tennis, a lot of the work right now is at the federation level, where they are going through getting their teams preparing, and hopefully in a few weeks' time, giving us the final team.
Well, the National Olympic Committee of Kenya set up commissions, and this is in line with the Nock plans.
How do I get to the commission? Our commissions are same values and objectives of what we wanted to do. The reason why we wanted to be clear on what we wanted to do, because there were very many expectations from a National Olympic Committee. Do we focus on the youngsters? Do we focus on the seniors? Is it the coaches, the referees? So we had to sit and agree which are the priority areas. Now, the strategy and performance will be looking at that particular strategy which we came up with, review it, because as you know, with strategies you have to keep seeing it. Obviously, when we were doing it at that time, certain aspects like the corona pandemic had not come in. Right now it is coming. What does it mean to our overall strategy? Do we need to review it? The Olympics, we did not expect them to be postponed. Right now, instead of having a full 4-year period to the next Olympics, we have 3 years. It means then we have to change a lot of what we need to do. But most importantly, after they review that, it is the monitoring. We need a team which looks at overall activities of the National Olympic Committee and keep checking whether they are in line with what we want to aspire towards, and check also whether there are some gaps where we are not addressing them, whether the commissions we formed are contributing towards that overall strategy. So a lot will be expected from that commission, and we believe the people who have been brought in are equal to that task.
So there is 2 things out from what you have said that I want to pick out. First is the vision and the values of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. You could tell us about that first.
One of the things, we looked at the National Olympic Committee and the past history, probably 50 years. And we found that, especially in terms of our athletes in athletics, they are world standard. They have gone to be the best. And therefore, we say that as an organization, we want to be the best National Olympic Committee in the world. And for those who are within the Olympic family, there are very many aspects within the National Olympic Committee. Then we looked at what are the values which bring us together. We are sports people, and a lot of people share very many values. We picked the top 3, which are shared across the family of Olympic, which is friendship, excellence, and and respect. These are some of the values which we want to embrace. We want them to be part and parcel of our culture across all our athletes, across all our administrators, and everybody else. With that common vision, which is to be the best, not second, not third, to be the best. And then we looked at what are the best standards across every aspect of sport that we encounter, and we all aspire and aim to be in that area.
All right, the second one that I want to take is how you tweak your strategy, given that this Olympiad is not going to be the usual 4-year cycle, but 3 years, 2021 to 2024. What are the things that have had to change in your approach to preparing Kenya for the 2024 Paris Olympics?
First is to collectively, as a family, when I talk of family, we are talking about affiliates, is to ensure that we have constant consultation with our affiliates in terms of the activities. Like I think since January we've had about 3 meetings, and we're having another one tomorrow. That shows how often we need to have. The first thing is for everybody to appreciate that we do not have time. And even the period becomes less when you look at our national calendar as a nation, that this year we're going to have elections, which means, practically speaking, we are between now and July, because August we allow for the electoral process to go through, which we are all involved in, August and September. It means now we even have fewer months to be able to prepare. Secondly is to start looking at every engagement, not as an event, but as a process. We are saying now, we are looking at the 2024 Paris Olympics, but we are saying everything that we do now builds onto that. And therefore, when we look at, for example, the Commonwealth, we are saying there are some federations which can opt that the teams they are going to put forward will be teams for the future.
Yes. And
therefore, in terms of the objectives, in terms of the goals for their participation in the Commonwealth, it is to start gaining experience, to start growing, because that the team, hopefully the federation will be keeping to participate next year in the African Games and ultimately in the Paris 2024 Olympics. The other federations, for different strategic reasons, who might want to have an even longer term view, where
one of the things that's there, and I want to bring the commissions that are there, elite athlete development, which means there is an elite athlete performance commission that is there, and you also have got the athlete representatives and the people who are around that. We've got Humphrey Kayange and Glenn Obiri there. Tell us how these two work to ensure that the people who represent the country are at the top of their game.
I'll start with the easier one for us to understand, which is just the Athletes Commission. Athletes Commission is purely to look at the welfare of athletes. And in the coming days, we'll be unveiling quite a number of programs in terms of how we want to engage. The principal guide is that we want an athlete, before they get to the pitch, they are a good person. They need to be trained on financial aspects. They need to be trained on mental aspects. They need to be trained on social aspects across board. We want everyone we interact with, directly the National Olympic Committee and indirectly through our affiliates. These are people who we've helped to be better people, because they'll be ready for the market, either as sports people or beyond the time they'll be in sports when they retire and take up different roles. The other one, and probably more important for us, is the Elite Performance Commission, that is looking at the teams which come to the National Olympic Committee. As you know, the foundations are laid at the federation level. The development is at federation level. Then what the federations do is give us the ready material to go for competitions. These are people we are saying right now, if you look at internationally, the difference between number one, number two could be microseconds. What does that mean? It means that we have to start looking at the way we approach our sports slightly different than we've done in the past. We need to start having data in terms of these athletes. For example, if they come to camp, maybe in April, like we are hoping that would be the case, are there people who can be able to test them through different parameters according to their technical specific requirements, and then we see whether the 2 months of camp makes any difference. Does it help improve them? Are there statistics we can be able to get of different individuals within a team perspective, which can help the coaches to be able to decide, so by the time they announce the final squad, they're able to demonstrate to every athlete that these are our targets, this is what we are achieving, but we are not able to meet them, so that an athlete can be able to appreciate that they need to work on certain areas. But more importantly is to start helping us towards a sports science center. A sports science center has a lot of different elements which needs to be incorporated. We need to work with a lot of sports scientists to be able to assist our technical coaches, analyze, support, and provide programs which can help athletes become better. We just want to improve our performance. That is the goal of the Elite Performance. And
put that together, the Olymp Africa Center that is in Ruai, that the groundbreaking ceremony took place. We also have looking at a high performance center. Plus, and I want to bring in this, the Nock Institute Commission, which is ideally supposed to be the think tank, do all the research work and the hard work, and also working with the Kenya Sports, the Kenya Sports Academy. How's this ecosystem being set up so that there is a lot of knowledge sharing, especially around, athlete data?
I'll start with the Olymp Africa Center. Olymp Africa Center is our answer to where are the Kenyans who will participate in 2032 Brisbane Olympics. That is our answer. We are saying we have them. We're asking federations to give us the top. This will be something which will work very, very closely with federations to start developing the top. We'll be letting you know how soon we'll start, because we are starting as soon as April in terms of the youth camps, which we had started before the pandemic. We'll be saying now these are the people we want to train. The facilities which you want to put up at the Olymp Africa should be of international standard. So the first time any particular player goes to a sports ground, they start training at international level. They don't get overwhelmed when they go to international competition, and that's the first time they look at international standards infrastructure.
Playing volleyball indoor.
Exactly.
Playing football on proper grass.
Exactly. If we can be able to get our youngsters to enjoy these facilities and get used to that, it means as they improve, then they're able to use them. And we know also in terms of support resources, they are limited. By putting all the athletes in one place, we can be able to bring resources which would have been shared across probably 27 federations to one spot. So if a sports scientist, if it's a strength and conditioning person, they can come and impact the athletes directly at minimal cost. Obviously, this is just a start. We are hoping that in future, then the counties will be able to put up such facilities, which federations now can be able to spread through their branch network to be able to continue training. Because the whole idea is to widen the base as much as possible so that the pyramid can be very strong. Going back to the Nock Institute, it's all about education. It's about research, like you've said, and you've said it's about information. There are a lot of opportunities we believe our sports people can get. We have very many universities in the country. We want to see whether the Nock Institute can be able to work very, very closely with these universities to be able to give our athletes opportunities. We know a lot of them are giving scholarships for athletes, but we are wondering, and we hope that we can be able to partner with them. So some of these great athletes who are representing Kenya, they do not just aspire to go out of the country. Sometimes that is good for them. What about the ones who do not make it? Can they be able to get an opportunity within the university system in the country to be able to participate, which means our leagues, our senior championships will be stronger because we have good athletes who are still within the country but are also learning. The second one is a lot of education systems we need to develop, we need to incorporate across board. You've seen we've done a lot of administrators courses. We've already started with one schedule, and others will be following up this week. The whole idea is to train as sports administrators from the national level all the way to the sub-county level. It means then this particular commission has to be able to work with experts who can be able to train our athletes in different areas. Then we are also looking at, we get a lot of opportunities for people to pursue their masters, their postgraduate or even graduate studies. That's the commission which will be able to vet for us who among all the Kenyans who are interested is best suited and who should be given that opportunity. And even then, after they're given that opportunity, are they bringing back the knowledge back to the country so it can be shared and so that the rest of the country can be able to benefit from that one individual who has gotten that one opportunity.
Well, talking about scholarships, there's something known as the Olympic Solidarity Scholarship, and this goes to athletes who've got the potential. Sabrina Zimara, who's the Snow Leopard, she's a part of that brand tour, who's going to be here later, has benefited that through table tennis, and I think Mercy Joshua from badminton. Which commission will be picking up this, will be selecting who gets that Olympic Solidarity Scholarship?
That will be the elite. Elite because they are looking at the top performance. And for people to understand how athletes end up benefiting from that particular opportunity is that we have federations nominating their top athletes. When the nominations come to us, we send them to the International Olympic Committee. What the International Olympic Committee then does is to confirm with the international federations in terms of the best possible avenues for those particular applicants, either to get the scholarship or whether they have a chance. The whole idea is to avail opportunities to as many athletes across the world as possible, and that's why the Olympic Solidarity Program gives to every athlete across the world to be able to get an opportunity to participate in the Olympics. Last time, out of the ones who were within the program, one of them who was from swimming was able to make it to the Olympics. We are hoping this time round, and we'll be announcing the recipients probably in a month's time. We are hoping this time round the recipients will be able to make it for the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Okay. Well, also talking about that, let's talk about the Gender and Youth Commissions and the roles that they are going to play within the entire Nock setup.
In simple terms, is to break the bias of either side. I know a lot of people, when they hear of the gender, they think it's about the women. No, it's across the women and the men. We want to, as much as possible, to ensure that there is no bias to either gender. We also realize that there are some areas we need to do affirmative action. A lot of people have wondered why there are not too many sports administrators who are women, and some of them are historical reasons, some of them are cultural, and some of them could be different reasons. We are addressing the reasons why people are not able to come to sports. They're not able to take up administrators' course. They're not able to become referees or become coaches. And the Gender Commission will be advising the executive in terms of the areas which we need to engage, which we need to participate. As you realized over the weekend, we had our International Women's Day celebration by bringing our sports women together to celebrate. That simple action ensures that the sports women are able to start interacting with other sports people across the country. We also have the senior ones who have retired. They start connecting, they start talking, they start having conversations, they start mentoring them, so that we do not have anyone walking alone when we have so many other people who can be able to mentor them, who can be able to support them. We'll be rolling out a number of programs to be able to support by affirmative action the women to participate, but again, it's not at the cost of the men. It is simply to, as much as possible, to level the ground. We know there are rooms already men are in. We are just saying we want to open a door for women to be part of that process.
Well, the other one that I want to touch on is a medical commission. There is a lot of interest in medicine and matters to do with anti-doping. And from the work that has been done, I think, in the run-up to the Tokyo Olympics, I think the medical commission did help. The federations raised the flags about athletes' health, probably where athletes are not being open about what the playbook was. What's the way forward for this commission?
This, again, is an important commission, as you all realize, and I guess every person in the world has realized that everything almost became a medical issue. You go to any building and the person who is testing you, they're checking your temperature, something we had associated with only the medical people. This is more in sports. We are saying that not only do we want the medical commission to take interventive measures in terms of what needs to be done, reducing the number of injuries among our sports people simply because they do not have the good training program, enabling the sports people know that if they are taking particular medicine, they need to declare. But more importantly, for them to start also giving us information on the research they have done. And looking at the base year being 2020, when the medical commission and the team of medical started getting data of our sports people, we're hoping this can be able to be built all through. We believe that the medical commission will be able to perfect its work probably in another 10 or 15 years when they have built enough data around our Kenyan athletes. What works for them, what does not work for them, in what condition do they need to be, what are some of the areas they need to intervene in good time, what are the areas they need to check, what is causing common injuries, because they can be able to look at different sports and find that over the last 10 years there have been consistent injuries which they need to prevent. And therefore they have to come and suggest to the coaches what they feel they have come up with and what needs to be done. They'll also be very part and parcel of working together with the elite team in terms of this high performance center. When they come in, a lot of it will be medical based, and we are hoping that they can be able to partner with a lot of research foundations to be able to get a lot of research on the individual athletes, so that we do not go for competitions and hope that there'll be luck. It will be through a lot of information, through a lot of guidance in terms of what to expect in terms of our performance.
Well, and those are the commissions that have been set up by the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. Well, remember, we said 132 days to the Commonwealth Games, and Team Kenya already, there are teams that have qualified, and simply this is it. Rugby sevens men, an allocation of 13 athletes. Basketball 3x3 women, an allocation of 4 athletes. Basketball 3x3 also for the actually for the men and women, 18 total, 4 from each gender. And hockey women have got 18 athletes allocated. Hockey women qualifying based on their rankings. But there is a criteria that's going to be used as to the number of athletes that Kenya can have. Beach volleyball, they're going for their qualifiers. Hockey women have qualified. We're looking at netball. Rugby sevens women. And table tennis will be here later. Weightlifting, para-athletics, para-cycling, para-lawn bowls, para-swimming, para-table tennis, para-triathlon, and wheelchair basketball. So this means qualification sport. You make it, you're in the team.
Yes, you make it, you're in the team. We have 3 levels of participating in the Commonwealth, and this is based a lot by our performance in 2018 Gold Coast. And therefore we got what we call direct slots. Direct slots, we got about 94 as a country. And those direct slots, then we look at which federations will be able to represent us.
That is what is referred to as open athlete allocation.
Yes, that's the open athlete allocation. So we get 94 spots, then we go across different slots. The second one is the federations which need to go through their qualification system, like the ones you've mentioned. They need to go out there, compete, either qualify directly, or if they do not qualify directly, then they get wildcards to be able to participate. The third one is on the parasports. Parasports also have to go through their qualification. So out of these 3 different ways of going to Birmingham, that's where we expect to get a team. But there are certain criteria and guidance we work together, and which we are working across with all the federations. The first one is, as a National Olympic Committee, we want all federations to participate. It means it's not irrespective of how their performance has been in the past. We just want inclusivity and everyone to participate. The second one is we are looking forward to the best Kenyan in every sport to be able to qualify. It also means the end and the means become important. And in terms of the means, we've said that the criteria used for selection should at least go by 3 principles. The first thing is that it should be known by the stakeholders. That means if we are in any sport, it means then we should know how our team will be selected. So it should be known. The second thing, that there should be advance notice, that we do not release the information today and tomorrow that's when there'll be the qualification. And the third one is that it should bring out the best. And the best can be relative, because again, federations being the experts in the individual sport can be able to guide us on how they want to bring the best. I'll give an example. For example, competitions where there is the weight categories. A federation can strategically decide they just want to focus on particular weight category for different reasons, as long as they believe and they agree that is the best way to go strategically. So out of the 10 different categories, if they have only 4 slots, then they can only tell us, we feel we have comparative advantage in these particular categories, and those are the categories we are going to include people for trials to be able to compete.
And that would be ideally wrestling, judo and boxing.
Boxing and weightlifting.
And also. Weightlifting also.
Yes. Those now can be able to tell us, since we are not giving them all the categories, we are giving them a limited number. They'll come back and tell us, this is the reason we want to select. So with that guiding principle, we expect and we hope that we can get the best team, so that at the end, the people who represent us are the best, and those who are left, they are supporting those who have made it. Because if it's an open competition, it's an open system, it's understood and everybody is aware of, and they were given a chance to be part and parcel of it, then they can be able to support and cheer the ones who will go and represent us as a country.
So let's take a look at some aquatics. This is in swimming. About how many slots? I mean, when it comes to the Olympic Games, you normally operate with 2 slots unless you've got at some huge top-notch athletes. It's one of the universal sports at the universal entry sports at the Olympics. At the Commonwealth Games, how does that work?
It's a decision which we'll have to make as a country. Out of the 94 and the people who are already in the open slot system, now that's after we inform people of the principle of inclusivity. It means what is the minimum number for each sport, and some of them are strategic. For example, where we have doubles event, you find that it's not wise to send an individual. It's better to send 2 individuals so they can be able to participate with the singles category and the doubles category, or the mixed, depending on how it is. So that is what will guide us in terms of the minimum numbers. After we attain the minimum numbers, the next principle which will guide us is the performance. Performance is purely by what is the international ranking, what is the African ranking, because that's when now more people will get more slots. So you might find the team which will be sitting on that allocated slightly more to athletics, because you might find we have more people who are within the top ranking, and probably less to other sports, because we feel they are still fighting at a regional level, continental level, before now they start competitively looking for positions at the Commonwealth. So we are saying yes, inclusivity allows everybody to participate, but because we know it's also an expensive venture, we want those who have the best chance of good performance to get more numbers.
Well, over the weekend, when it comes to open allocation, I think cycling got 2 slots. They've confirmed 2 slots. We'll take a look at mountain bike and track, which I think we haven't reached at that. But overall, what's for example, the timelines that you're looking at, considering that Athletics Kenya have a headache? The day the World Championships come to a close in Oregon, the next day, the Commonwealth Games begin. 24th of July, and the club games begin on the 25th of July. How are you going to work around, ensuring that probably what would be called a tier B team, which is still the best that the country has had.
This will be a very interesting scenario. This is where you say it's both a blessing and a curse that we have such a great talent, because as a Commonwealth federation or association, we want the best athletes in athletics to represent us. But we also know there is a logistical challenge or that they'll be having their World Championship. And we continue in discussion with the Athletics Kenya in terms of how they're going to select the final team and whether, which would be our wish, the best athletes can be able to participate, especially the sprints. We believe the sprinters can be able to compete, and within a week, they'll have recovered to compete in the Commonwealth. We understand that the marathoners and 10,000 meter runners might not be able to compete, and then within a week to be able to compete in other areas. So we are looking forward, and once athletics finalize their program, they'll be able to advise us on how we can be able to engage in terms of getting the best for both competitions, the World Championship, and we do not want them to give us the second tier. We want to give us the next best, and where possible, those who can still come and compete, especially sprint and field events. We are hoping that they can still give us the same team, which will be able to participate in World Championship, and fresh for competition, they come to the Commonwealth.
Para sport, para athletics, that's qualification. Basically looking at it, it's open qualification for all the para athletes. How are you working with the National Paralympic Committee?
Yes, we are working with the Kenya National Paralympic Committee because first they are experts in that particular area, and for particular sports we are also working with the federations which are involved, like the Kenya Cycling Federation normally directly engage with their para cyclists. We've started a lot of our para athletes have gotten opportunities to start training and to go for competitions to qualify. All of them are through their qualification. They have to go through the qualification path. They have to be able to qualify and participate. We are working with the Kenya National Paralympics to start preparing them so that when they go to participate, they are prepared. And secondly, also working with the other federations to support them. We would want as much as possible each federation to have all the athletes, whether different airborne or airborne athletes, to be able to participate, to be able to train as much as possible together, to be managed together, so that we can encourage the value of inclusivity as much as possible. So we are working with them, and we are working with federations to ensure that we have a good para sports team.
Well, after the Commonwealth Games, the next thing that we're going to have is the 2022 Africa Youth Games in Cairo. And just going through the list of sports that Kenyans that are going to be there: 3x3 basketball, swimming, archery, athletics, badminton, field hockey, which is played usually in the hockey, at times in hockey 5. There's the martial arts, rugby 7, table tennis, beach volleyball, weightlifting, wrestling, wushu, and you know, the one thing I'm trying to look for is break dancing. You know, they love that. The plan for the Africa Youth Games, put it into context.
Now that you mentioned about the break dancing, I should mention even esports. We are actually looking at whether we can get an opportunity to send an exhibition team to Commonwealth for esports. UK right now is very big in esports, and it will be a good opportunity for us to start sending Kenyans. And yes, when you look at the youth, the International Olympic Committee is encouraging what we call the youth sports: breakdancing, skating, mountain climbing. We are hoping that the host, Egypt, can be able to avail that opportunity. The teams which you've listed is based on the last time's participation of the African Youth Games in Algiers, but you're hoping because of the new needs, the new scenarios of sports in the world, we shall be able to get an incorporation of the youth sports. So those are the ones we are looking at. We'll be starting to train them in a youth camp this coming April, so that we can get the team prepared, even as we wait for August to reach, when we can be able to know out of all the ones we've listed who will be able to participate. But one of the things we'd like to emphasize in terms of the youth sports, that is where a lot of focus is. We are not saying even if they do not go to Egypt, that's the end. We are saying we are starting to train them. Our biggest target right now is the CAR 2026 Olympics. All our youngsters...
That's the Youth Olympics that was scheduled for this year, actually, but pushed back by 4 years.
Yes, and we understand that we've lost a generation because of that lack of participation. Now it means we have to start looking at the 12 to 14 years who will be matured by 2026 to be able to represent us. The longer target or objective is that we start looking at, can we start dominating in other sports? We can only dominate in other sports if we start training the youngsters now, give them time to mature, and then be able to expose them. So the youngsters who we are starting to train this year are the target for 2026 Dakar Olympics, and hopefully they can be able to participate in the LA and Brisbane Olympics, which will be 2028 and 2032.
The selection criteria for this 14 to 17-year-olds for Egypt 2022, how are you going to go around and ensure that actually the athletes who are there fall within that age bracket?
Very tricky area, and is a place where we have to work very, very closely with the Ministry of Education, very closely with the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association and Kenya Primary School Sports Association. We are lucky nowadays, as people get registered, there's a national system in terms of the age, and therefore any individual can easily check what is the age of this particular. So yes, the Youth Commission will be very, very strict in terms of the age. We must get the right age. But also, we also need to have a team of people, because when you are a youngster, you might have matured or you might have potential to mature and become a good athlete. So this one, the federations, through their coaches, will have to look at who are the best possible candidates, who is just a bit of few months polishing and then they become good. So at the start, it might not be the very top. But we believe that the team will be put in together, led by our Youth Commission, can be able to identify talent and look at the potential on the people who will be able to participate. And we have a long lead period where a lot of changes can be done. If others come up, then the Youth Commission will be happy to incorporate them so that within the next 12 months, we can have a team which now we can say effectively this is the team we can start preparing. It doesn't stop anyone else coming and training, working a lot from outside the system. If they work very hard, they'll obviously be incorporated because the policy will always remain the best Kenyan participates and represents the country.
Another, coming into these games, it's going to be interesting. For the last 2 years, we've not had sport, at competitive sport at school level, which would be the foundation for this. What's the plan going, because you have about 5 months to that competition?
The plan is to call them, all the youngsters, immediately. Right now we are very lucky that they have gone into a long period of holiday, and that's what we want to take advantage of. So as we speak, the Youth Commission is actually putting its final plans of the youth camp in place. Tomorrow the federations will look at what the plan is. When they agree the plan can roll out, then before the end of this month we are going to have the youth camp where we start training. We appreciate a lot of them have not competed, so we do not know in what state they are at, and that's where the youth camps become extremely important, so that we start putting them in situations where they can be able to play. We are also hoping that the Ministry of Education can reopen the schools championships in the next term. I know their calendar is tight, but we're hoping that with the calendar, then some of these youngsters, when they go back to schools, they can continue competing in the schools championships.
Well, it's going to be a tough 2 months, for the youngsters who are in sport, and if they are there and they're watching, then they would rather get back to fitness and get into their sport, find a way such that if they go back and they're told the competition is on, then they would know what to do. The other thing is, there was a camp that was in Kenya 3 years back, 2.5 years back, and over the holidays. What were the learning lessons from the 20 or so federations that had representation in the camp?
One of the things is that we are very, very proud with the success of that camp. It might have been a one-off, but we can be able to see some of those who are participating in the camp right now in the national teams, the senior teams, and nothing could be better than that. We also realize that we need to pick, as a country, a lot of people are introduced to sports in Form 1 for very many different reasons. We need to move almost 5 years earlier than that. It means a lot of sports needs to start at primary school level. The youth camp helps us to start addressing that particular gap. We need to get as many youngsters as possible introduced to the technical elements of sport while they are still young enough to be able to learn it easily and to be able to perfect it. So by the time they go to the secondary schools, wherever they'll be going to, they'll be able to participate at a much advanced level. So it's a lesson which we must pick, which we must ensure we can share it with our other stakeholders, especially within the primary school level. If they can incorporate and strengthen their schools program, that will enable us to get. And the second thing is the technical coaches that we continue exposing, we continue giving opportunity to the youth coaches so they can be able to work with these youngsters before they move them then to the next level, which is probably the elite level. So it's a lot of exposure, a lot of opportunities for the youngsters, and a lot of training. We normally pick, and I give a typical example for a lot of people's experience. Everyone went to Form 1. Everyone was picked based on how good they were in football. No one had ever taught anyone how to play football. And therefore, when you talk of low skill level, it's simply because no one has taught us the skills. So the youth program, the youth camp, is to start to instill the skills required for each individual sport at a very, very early stage.
Actually, let me just come back to that. Elite performance, there is the institute. What's the whole system about ensuring that you've got a system of youth coaches?
We start at a small level where we work with our federations to just identify individuals who start and then start putting the program. We know when we talk of development, when we talk of youth program, that's where a lot of money is required. It's normally very easy to go and look for sponsorship for a top athlete because they can be able to be seen. They are competing and their visibility is very good. But when you go and tell a partner or a prospective sponsor that we need money to develop, it means we are literally digging the foundation. Nothing will be seen until after probably 5 years. And therefore, that's what we are hoping. Even as we go forward, we are hoping that some of the policies which will come into play within the government structure of funding is that there'll be a lot of money put for development, literally just development, where federations are given a certain amount every year to go pick youngsters and develop them. It means also we have to work very, very closely with the Kenya Academy of Sports so that as they go throughout their programs, they are working in conjunction with the technical areas who are the federations to be able to identify them. We also hoping that even as you look at the constituency funds and all other funding across the country, a lot of it can be diverted towards sports at a young level because youngsters have to be picked at their home areas. It will be very difficult for us to know of anyone who is training in the outskirts of the cities. But the system, if we put a system which can identify them at their local area, they can be able to be trained and exposed at national level where we can be able to see them and pick them for further exposure.
Well, last week there was a communication that came from the Cabinet Secretary for Sport, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohammed, and it is about Section 45 of the Income Tax Act. It's a law that actually came into effect on the 1st of January 2017. But right now, if anyone is funding sport, all they need to do is to give proof of that, and they will have some exemption from their taxes. It's going to be a tax deductible expense. What is the outlook, we know, with that communication coming in from the Cabinet Secretary?
Could it have come at a better time? We are struggling with financing. We have partners who are ready to give financing. They are in business, so they need a return of the investments. They need to see a value. But this is a very good motivation for them. First, we are as an Olympic and Commonwealth family, we are very, very appreciative of the bold step the Cabinet Secretary has taken in terms of putting into effect that particular clause, which has been there since 2017 and unfortunately had not been effected. Now we are hoping that a lot of corporates out there can be able to come on board to support sports people at both that national level, federation level or individual level, so that they can be able to get rebates on their expenses on that. What hopefully that will mean is that we have more money coming into sports. A lot of people say sports is an industry, it should be grow. We hope this will be one of the catalysts which can move us to that level.
All right. The Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, Francis Mutuku, thank you very much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure.
I know you've got to leave because I know there is something else that's coming in the news later.
Yes.
I know what that has been lined up for you, and it is something that's going to support people around the sporting ecosystem. Conversations around the Commonwealth Games and also the Nock commissions. And remember that KBC Channel 1 will be broadcasting the Commonwealth Games to you from the 25th of July to the 8th of August. And remember, just before that, another 10 days backwards, KBC will have broadcast the World Athletics Championships from Eugene, Oregon. It's going to be, a total shift of time zones, but a lot of entertainment that's going to run for about 25 days non-stop, sporting-wise, from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and thank you very much for your continued support of our sports.
All right.